Modern society constantly plants in our minds the belief that a person's worth depends on the recognition of others. From social media to everyday relationships, we often feel we must seek approval, that only when someone walks beside us are we considered right or successful. The opening message of the Stoic Warrior challenges this way of thinking. True strength does not lie in the crowd or fleeting praise, but in the ability to stand firmly alone and listen to the voice within. Marcus Aurelius once emphasized, "Everything lies within you, within your own way of thinking." This lesson opens the path to freedom. When we stop waiting for permission, stop clinging to others' judgments, we truly begin to grow. Every turning point, choosing a career, facing hardship, overcoming fear, demands that we decide for ourselves and bear our own responsibility. Standing alone does not mean closing your heart or withdrawing from society. On the contrary, it is a phase of training that allows you to connect with others from wholeness, not from lack or need. When you understand and love yourself, every relationship becomes healthier, born from abundance rather than the fear of being abandoned. Sacred solitude lets us hear the inner voice more clearly. Self-reliance keeps us steady in every choice. The ability to accept failure turns stumbles into steps of maturity. A fortress of spirit, built on discipline and principle, shields us from the storms outside. And most importantly, the courage to disappoint others in order to stay true to your values is the very essence of freedom. The core message: dare to walk your own path. With inner independence and self-mastery, you are no longer a prisoner of social expectations. You become a source of strength for yourself and for those you love. That is the victory of a Stoic warrior, alone, strong, and free. Principle 1 of the Stoic Warrior. In a world of noise and constant connection, people find it harder and harder to endure moments of solitude. Phones, social media, and endless conversations make us believe that being alone is the same as being lonely, or even a sign of failure. Yet the first principle of the Stoic Warrior affirms the opposite: solitude is a sacred gift and a necessary stage of training to uncover inner strength. Marcus Aurelius, the philosopher-emperor of Rome, once wrote that true happiness does not depend on external things, but on the way we think for ourselves. He understood well that even among crowds, a mind unable to stand on its own can still feel lost. Solitude is not a rejection of society but the courage to turn inward and listen to oneself. When we give time to silence, the outer noise slowly dissolves, revealing the deeper voice of our authentic being. Practicing this principle means deliberately creating space for the soul. Turning off devices, walking alone, meditating, or journaling. At first, silence may feel unsettling, but that very discomfort is the doorway to awareness. We begin to observe our thoughts, emotions, and hidden desires. We learn to befriend ourselves, a lesson no relationship or external success can ever replace. When solitude becomes a habit, we no longer get caught in the game of seeking approval. We connect with others not out of lack but from abundance, we give without demanding return. This is the foundation of inner freedom and the first step on the path of becoming a Stoic warrior, a person who is steady, self-possessed, and at peace, ready to face any challenge without being shaken by the outside world. Other people's opinions are not about you. Principle 2 of the Stoic Warrior. In life, we are often heavily influenced by what others think of us. From a colleague's praise or criticism, to comments on social media, to family expectations, many of our most important decisions get shaped by external judgment. The second principle of the Stoic Warrior calls us to pause and ask, why hand over the power to define ourselves to others, when their thoughts lie completely outside our control? The Stoic philosophers, especially Epictetus, taught that we do not suffer from events themselves, but from the judgments we attach to them. Criticism, disapproving looks, or others' opinions do not truly wound us, it is our agreement with them that gives them power. Eleanor Roosevelt once said, "No one can make you feel inferior without your consent." This captures the essence of the principle: you alone hold the authority to decide your worth and your emotional state. To practice this, begin by observing your own reactions. When you receive praise, do not let it lift you too high. When you hear criticism, do not let it pull you down. Remember that both are opinions, not truths. Instead of chasing approval, focus on acting in alignment with your own values and goals. This does not mean ignoring all feedback. You can still listen and learn, but with clear boundaries that protect your sense of self. When you release the need for approval, you become free. Your decisions arise from inner clarity, no longer driven by fear of judgment. This is the steady state of a Stoic warrior, calm in the face of both praise and blame, unwavering on the chosen path, and fully responsible for the course of one's own life. The power of self-reliance, Principle 3 of the Stoic Warrior. Throughout life, we are often told to lean on the group, to seek help, and to believe that strength lies in mutual dependence. Yet the third principle of the Stoic Warrior points to another truth: self-reliance is not selfishness, but the foundation that allows you to truly serve and love others. Self-reliance begins with taking full responsibility for your own life, your emotions, your decisions, and your actions. This does not mean living in isolation or rejecting support, but recognizing clear boundaries. Others may walk beside you, but no one can carry the burden of your growth. It is like the rule of wearing your own oxygen mask first on an airplane. You must secure yourself before you can help others. The philosopher Epictetus emphasized that happiness and freedom begin the moment we stop blaming external circumstances. A Stoic warrior practices this by cultivating the ability to care for themselves. Financially, professionally, and mentally. They learn proactively, build discipline, and refuse to wait for the perfect opportunity or a savior to appear. Self-reliance is also emotional sovereignty. When facing difficulty, instead of hoping for someone to rescue you, you listen inward and regulate yourself. You may seek advice, but the final choice must be yours. This independence is what makes relationships healthy. You give from wholeness, not from lack or from the expectation of return. When inner strength is nourished, you become a trustworthy anchor, not only for yourself but also for those around you. This is not merely a survival skill, but the highest expression of courage, the courage to stand firm in the face of trials, to craft the life you desire with your own hands, and to share that strength with the world. This is the spirit of self-reliance that every Stoic warrior must cultivate each day. Failure, Principle 4 of the Stoic Warrior. To many, failure is the end, a blemish to be hidden or a reason to give up. But the fourth principle of the Stoic Warrior declares the opposite: failure is not an enemy but the greatest teacher, a private university that shapes us into maturity. Stoic philosophers such as Marcus Aurelius and Seneca always viewed adversity as an opportunity to train virtue. They believed that every stumble offers a real-world lesson no classroom could ever provide. When a project collapses or a plan falls apart, it is not a sign to stop but an invitation to reflect and adjust. Thomas Edison once said he never failed, he simply found thousands of ways that did not work. That is the Stoic spirit, to treat every setback as part of progress. To turn failure into a stepping stone, begin by accepting it as a natural part of the journey. Instead of denial or blame, conduct a failure audit, write down what happened, what you felt, and the lessons learned. By daring to face it directly, you learn to separate event from emotion, seeing clearly what lies within your control and what does not. This practice does not make you cold, it makes you resilient. With each fall, you learn patience, sharpen skills, and build endurance. More importantly, you realize that your worth is not defined by temporary results, but by the attitude you bring to challenges. When you treat failure as a classroom, you gain the courage to attempt what the fearful avoid. You understand that the road to success is never straight, and that every stumble is part of the shaping of inner strength. Each fall becomes a lesson, each disappointment a forge for character. This is a vital step of the Stoic warrior, transforming every failure into a brick in the fortress of resilience, rising each time with greater clarity, strength, and unshakable resolve. Building the inner fortress, Principle 5 of the Stoic Warrior. In a turbulent world, where news, rumors, and pressures constantly strike us, it is easy to be swept into a spiral of anxiety. The fifth principle of the Stoic Warrior shows the path to stand firm amidst every storm: build an inner fortress, a stronghold of spirit that nothing external can break. Marcus Aurelius once wrote that the wise carry within themselves an impregnable citadel, and that citadel is the mind disciplined through practice. This fortress is not a wall of isolation from society, but an inner sanctuary where you can always find peace and strength, regardless of outer circumstances. When the economy falters, when others criticize, or when plans collapse, you remain steady, because your foundation lies within. To build such a fortress, you must first cultivate mental discipline, habits like meditation, journaling, or daily moments of silence to observe your thoughts. Then comes clarity of principle. Unchanging values that guide your decisions without hesitation. When you know what truly matters, you are no longer swayed by temptations or temporary pressures. The inner fortress also requires deep self-awareness, understanding your emotions, acknowledging weaknesses and limits. This honesty creates a solid self, free from the need to hide or chase recognition. And like any structure, the fortress must be maintained daily, training the body, nurturing knowledge, and sustaining healthy relationships, all of which strengthen its walls. When your fortress is strong, you do not become distant, rather, you connect and give more fully, out of abundance. No storm, whether criticism, failure, or crisis, can bring you down. This is the core quality of a Stoic warrior, calm in the midst of chaos, strong at the root, and truly free in a world of constant change. The courage to disappoint others, Principle 6 of the Stoic Warrior. One of the greatest challenges of modern life is the fear of letting others down. We often say yes when we want to say no, accepting expectations that do not belong to us simply to keep the peace. Yet in the Stoic spirit, this is the very trap that chains our freedom. The Stoic warrior understands, to be honest with yourself, you must sometimes have the courage to disappoint others. Aristotle once remarked, to avoid criticism, say nothing, do nothing, be nothing. The path may sound safe, but in truth it is betrayal of the self. When you chase after universal approval, you silence your inner voice and sacrifice your core values. That fleeting likability is temporary, but the emptiness inside becomes a lasting wound. The Stoic draws a clear line between respecting others and pleasing them. They remain polite and compassionate, but they do not allow anyone's expectations to dictate their life. They accept the reality that some will be displeased when boundaries are set, when an invitation is declined, or when a dream diverges from family wishes. Instead of seeing this as tragedy, they see it as a mark of growth. Living by this principle is not selfishness. On the contrary, it demands kindness and clarity. When no is needed, you say it calmly, briefly, and with respect for the other's feelings. You do not wound deliberately, but neither do you apologize for honoring your values. This is strategic disappointment, choosing carefully which stands are worth taking, which hills are worth defending. The paradox is that those who truly care for you will value this honesty. They want to know who you really are, not a hollow version crafted to satisfy the crowd. By daring to live authentically, relationships become genuine, and you gain the ultimate gift of the Stoic warrior, inner freedom. Victory over the self, Principle 7 of the Stoic Warrior. While many people strive to outdo others, measuring worth through wealth, fame, or power, the Stoic warrior understands that the greatest battle takes place within. It is the lifelong journey of mastering one's mind, emotions, and desires, the only victory that can never be taken away. The sages of old emphasized this truth. Lao Tzu once said, "He who conquers others is strong, he who conquers himself is truly mighty." This timeless reminder tells us that inner power outweighs all outward triumphs. You may achieve every worldly success, yet if anger, fear, or craving control you, you remain a slave. Self-mastery does not mean becoming cold or denying emotions. It is the art of observing and choosing your response. When someone cuts you off in traffic, you can explode in rage, or take a deep breath and move on. When criticized, you can grow defensive and retaliate, or listen calmly and extract what is useful. Each moment you act from reason instead of impulse, the muscle of self-discipline grows stronger. Inner freedom also requires clarity of desire. The Stoic distinguishes between healthy aspirations and desperate attachment. They set goals and work diligently, yet do not lose peace if the outcome differs from expectation. True victory lies not in obtaining every want, but in living aligned with values and maintaining serenity regardless of results. This path demands daily training, meditation, self-reflection, discipline in small habits. Yet the reward is priceless: a mind unshaken, a spirit free, and the strength to love and contribute without being bound by fear or ambition. The Stoic warrior wins not by subduing the world, but by conquering the self, the only victory that never fades. The essence of 7 principles, the path of the Stoic warrior. When mastering the 7 principles, the Stoic warrior does not merely hold scattered lessons, but forges a complete way of life, transforming from one swayed by external forces to one rooted in unshakable inner freedom. This is not a journey of overnight success, but a lifelong discipline, where each principle complements and strengthens the others. They begin by embracing sacred solitude, listening to the inner voice, and laying the foundation for every decision. From there, they learn to rise above the gaze of others, realizing that self-worth does not depend on praise or criticism. Next comes self-reliance, the capacity to stand firmly on their own and to care for both body and mind. Along the way, failure ceases to be a threat and becomes a stern teacher, forging resilience. Every stumble reveals what lies within one's control and teaches patience in adjusting the course. At the same time, they devote themselves to building an inner fortress, a citadel of spirit that remains invulnerable amidst upheaval. With this strength, they gain the courage to disappoint others in order to live true to their values, set clear boundaries, and maintain relationships grounded in sincerity rather than pretense. Finally, they realize that the ultimate victory is self-conquest, mastering emotions, tempering desires, and living by reason and virtue. Together, these form a complete circle. Each principle is not a skill in isolation but a brick in the architecture of a steadfast, free, and compassionate soul. The Stoic warrior does not seek spotlight or approval, they simply choose to live fully and firmly. Their life becomes proof that true strength is not found in conquering the world, but in preserving peace and integrity amidst chaos. This is the enduring triumph, the worthy reward for anyone bold enough to walk the Stoic path.